Obviously, the carnival, there's a lot of expenses that come with being able to put it on. Like you said, this year, you guys, were going out and saying to the media and publicly, like, hey, we don't have enough funding to put this on. So how much does it actually cost to put on the carnival?
$1.6 to $1.8 million. And that's being conservative.
So I'm here today with Mischka. Mischka is the CEO of Toronto Caribbean Carnival. This was your first year as a CEO. But before that, you were in the carnival space since you were about 4 years old.
That's right. A little wee thing, little Mish.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you got introduced to the space?
I mean, my mother really is the heart of my carnival love then and now, to be honest, too. My mother always talks about when she came to this country in the 1970s that the parade was 2 hours long, which when you think about it now, all of this time, what it's become. But I just bring that up because she was an immigrant, and like most immigrants to Canada, you get told about you gotta go to Caribana. Like it's this thing that will make you feel like you're home. And I think that was part of my mom's connection to it, but also she's just so creative and a maker with her hands, and she loves costume making. So she got involved in that. And at the time too, like bands didn't have kids. There was no junior carnival. That didn't exist. So my mom was a part of a band, and she made the kid versions of some of these adult costumes. And I got to go down the road. So I think it's cool. I've been down University Avenue. I have some video of that, but I just grew up knowing that this was who we are.
Mm-hmm. I remember in the Becoming a Queen documentary, you said something like, I didn't have to go to the Caribbean or something like that to know. What was it that you said again?
My parents they didn't have to get on a plane to teach me about where I came from and about how we live and celebrate life. But actually that reminds me about something that I heard in your podcast already this season, which is that whole idea of, taking your kids back home. You used to go back to Grenada a lot. My mom took us back to St. Vincent a lot. And when I was listening to that, I'm like, wow, that really ingrained in me this idea that that place is my home, literally, even though I wasn't born there. Mm-hmm. Like, I grew up knowing that I was Vincentian.
Mm-hmm. I had the exact same experience with Grenada. Like, although I was born in Canada, raised in Canada, everything, went to school in Canada. I went to school in Grenada at some points though as a child, but that was my home. Like everything that, like you have that feeling when you get there, you feel like, like I'm home. You know what I mean? And I am really grateful for my grandmother for that I had the privilege to be able to do that, because not everybody has the privilege to be able to go back and say like, this is where we're from. This is the house that I was raised in. This is where your grandmother used to do this. This is my father's land, like things like that. And so I think that's part of the reason why I feel so like strongly about Grenada and my Grenadian roots, because it's not like it's something that I was introduced to as a teenager or as an adult. Like it was something that was ingrained in me from like childhood. I think the first time I went to Grenada, I was 3 years old. Right. And I stayed there for a year. My mom stayed here. I don't know what it was, but like I went to Grenada for a year and my mom stayed back here. My grandmother was back here, and like I was raised there. I went to school there and things like that. And so I'm glad that you share that same, like, I don't know, like that understanding of like you go back home and to be able to understand that. Yeah.
It makes me wonder. And you bring up too, like the ability to do it, the privilege that we got to do that. I think about it all the time. I'm like, what is the experience like for, I'm a first generation Canadian, but what's going to happen second and third generation? Like, how are we going to make sure that there's that attachment to back home too? Because for my mom, it was easy because it was like that is your home, right? Yeah. Then there's like myself and you who, because our parents had that strong, intense connection there, we also have a part of that too. But I wonder, and I see people, and I think about what happens on parade day sometimes. Yeah. And I'm just like, I wonder if people are thinking about back home, that that's what this is, that's what we represent here when we're in Toronto and we put this festival on. this is our opportunity to show people what back home is, and that level of respect and appreciation for it. I'm like, where is that, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely, unfortunately, it's not there. I'm not sure why. And again, it's kind of like, well, when we think about, well, what would the solution be? Sometimes it's really easy to sit here on a podcast and think about this, well, we can do this or we can do that. But in practice, a lot of times some of these things won't work, or they won't work as fast as we would like them to.
Definitely not as fast as we would like them to. And it's, you know, for example, everybody talks about education. We have to educate people. We need for them to get it. Very simple, but extremely complex to execute. And also, our carnival and our culture is existing in a land that it is not native to. You know, in the islands, the whole island shuts down and partakes in these festivities. And that's not the same thing here. It's not the same level of support in so many different ways. But I see in schools right now, and this is a line that I say that I've found has been helping to get the message across, especially when I speak to government officials, is I see in schools so much more diversity and representation, which is beautiful. I see Chinese New Year being celebrated. I see Diwali. I see Ramadan. But then there's a whole group of kids, I was one of them, who don't fit into anything that gets celebrated at school. And then I was thinking, like, how does that impact you as a young person? Like, I didn't tell anybody that I participated in the carnival, because I thought nobody else did it. It's different. It's weird. And there wasn't this cultural acceptance. But if we're taking the time to celebrate other cultures, we need to think about the cultures that, you know, that we're missing in that. We had this program this year with TDSB. And when I saw kids who are of Caribbean descent, seeing their teachers wearing costumes and dancing to the music, like, these people are our future leaders. And that's the whole education piece to me, is how far back do we need to take it and how deep do we need to take it? It's not just putting on social media, this is what the carnival is about. It's like, let's look at our school system. Let's see how we're building our next generation of leaders. Let's talk about how we're making them think about back home, and if they feel connected to that even. Because I don't know.
Representation really does matter, because I can only imagine like how those kids' eyes probably lit up when they saw their teachers.
It was crazy. Like, even right now I'm getting chills. Grades, junior kindergarten to grade 6.
Wow.
Yeah, in an assembly. So it was a week-long program. Will Morton and Annalisa Morton, the band leaders of Fantasia, they were a part of it. They came in and I'm not talking construction paper costumes. Like, they actually made masks with these kids.
Wow.
These kids did reports on Bob Marley, on Voice. They talked about different Caribbean leaders or people of Caribbean descent that have been in Canada and their contributions. Anyways, they put on this whole assembly where they shared their learnings, each level. And I just wondered what that would have done for me as a kid if I experienced that. Just from watching them, I'm like, what is this doing to them for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's definitely going to have a big impact. And I would love to see that in different school boards across Ontario, across the GTA, if there's anybody who has connections to any school boards.
info@torontocarnival.ca. Thank you.
So, like, what did it, first of all, like, really what, I don't know if you can explain like a little bit more about what that program looks like, or if you guys are going to be continuing that, because that's something really cool and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's like 2 parts to it. One part is creating a cultural unit. So in certain grade levels, teachers have to teach about a certain culture or something that satisfies the cultural unit requirements. So we're working on having the carnival, Caribbean heritage, and emancipation be one of those cultural units. So that would be something that a teacher could select out of an assortment of different things. And then another piece of it is making it approved and available through the school board for schools to sign up for this workshop. So they would pretty much be able to order it the same way they do other workshops that are approved by the school board. And then we would come in and teach mass, pan, calypso.
Wow.
But like right now we have it as a week-long program.
Mm-hmm.
But there's for sure different iterations that could happen of it. But it's my dream to see that, you know, I can't imagine if the carnival and our emancipation and even our history as Caribbean people in Canada, how many people know how we got here?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, why is there such a huge amount of Caribbean people in Ontario? You know, people teach about that there was an immigration policy that came in, the domestic scheme, that basically allowed many Caribbean women to immigrate to Canada as domestic workers and start a life here and eventually bring their families over. But, you know, that's how we pretty much got here. And that's also the group of people who came at that time who said, hey, we want to do something that is a piece of us. We want to bring a piece of back home here. And here's the carnival.
Now we have it here today. However many people, how many people does the carnival attract yearly?
Oh my goodness. So I don't have the numbers for this year yet, but last year we did 1.67
on the
million
lakeshore
people. So that's not actually on the lakeshore directly. That's one of the common misconceptions, but it's pretty much engaging in the carnival events on that weekend. So it's engaging in anything from our traditional events starting from the Thursday to our closing out and the events that happen on the Monday. So I think that's over about 5 days. It's a lot of people though.
So we talked a little bit about, you know, your connections to back home, and I want to touch a little bit about on your first year as the CEO of Toronto Caribbean Carnival. So how was the first year as the CEO for you?
Terrifyingly groundbreaking. It was really scary.
Yeah.
I really love this thing. You know, it's been a part of my life for my entire life, and wanting to make a contribution to it and wanting to make an impact. That alone is kind of like a pressure over my head that I've put on myself.
It's like the fuel.
Yeah. And outside of that there's a lot of people depending on the work of the FMC to be able to do their thing and be able to have the carnival arts be displayed. I know people saw us, we were on the news in interviews saying a lot that we don't have the adequate funding to put on this festival, you know, and the funding we do get, a lot of our events have to be free and accessible to the publics. We don't have a lot of ways to make revenue. And there's been attempts in the past to make revenue out of many different ways that a lot of people would probably suggest as ideas. And they haven't gone well for a host of different reasons. And it doesn't mean we can't try it again, but the financial struggles of the carnival is something that has existed for decades. So inheriting that piece is also scary because, just like everybody before me, everybody I'm sure does their absolute best to make an impact and make a change so that this thing can fund itself and sustain itself and give back to the community even more than it does now. And I think part of that too is that the carnival has not been looked at as a business for a long time. It's just been looked at as, I shouldn't say it's not been looked at as a business. For a long time, I think the carnival has just been status quo. And everybody has accepted the carnival land, whatever that has been like. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm a little bit of an idealist, and I have this dream of the carnival being full of peace, you know, and ease. I have it where everybody is financially thriving.
Yeah.
You know, everybody feels like their art is being respected by not only us inside, but by the world, you know? I want our kids that when they do something in the carnival and they put that on their resume, whether it's working on this side or performing, that it matters, that somebody says, oh, wow,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you had Tribal's female individual on. When you go out, when she goes out into the world and says, I'm a performer, like this is what I've done. I want that to matter to people and to have some weight. And I think right now we're not far from that. I think society as a whole is learning to value different types of art. But we still have a long way to go.
What do you think it'll take to be able to get there?
You know, we have to value it
Yeah.
that way first.
Yeah.
Most do. Everybody does. But in the carnival, there still exists a lot of self-interest. That's not anybody's fault. Again, this is an ecosystem where people, their livelihoods depend on this festival existing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I want to talk about the money. Because like, I want to talk about the money. The money is always going to be
Go for it.
a thing. So how much, you know, obviously the carnival, there's a lot of expenses that come with being able to put it on. Like you said, this year, you guys, you know, were going out and saying to the media and publicly like, hey, we don't have enough funding to put this on. So how much does it actually cost to put on the carnival?
$1.6 to $1.8 million. And that's being conservative.
So it costs $2 million.
If we really wanted, yeah, for sure. If we really wanted to, for example, 90% of this carnival is staffed by volunteers. The landscape of volunteerism is changing. It's not the same as 1967 when all of our grandparents and aunties came here and they all said, let's get together and do this, you know? It's not the same. And also people need to get paid now too. We all have to provide for our families. It is a lot of work working in the carnival, whether you're staff or you volunteer. But if we're going to get better, we need to staff it better. We need to put less weight on our volunteers. For us to pay, oh my goodness, in Trinidad, every single person that's involved in the festival is paid staff.
Oh, wow.
Every single person. Information.
But you know what? That's probably because like their government funds a lot.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Excuse me?
I think I read an article.
Like
it was
TT or US dollars?
I thought I read something when I was there last year that said 450 TT dollars was put into, can't remember what part of the carnival, but we should totally look it up. But it's, I mean, we don't, it would be, if I was given $2 million.
I'm going to look up how much 450 TT is in CAD. But if you were giving $2 million.
If we were given a $2 million contribution from the government, which I don't think is too crazy, we contribute $465 million to the economy. And I believe it's $180 million to Ontario's GDP, tax dollars.
That's insane. So so you said 450 million. That's 89 million Canadian dollars.
Yeah, wow. Invested into the carnival.
That's huge. So this is only going to get better and better and better because they're actually putting money behind it.
It's just like anything. You have to evolve with the times. It's 2023. There's a lot of upgrades that the carnival needs.
Like what?
We need to go digital for our judging. We need it to be automatic.
It takes long.
And, that's just, again, our judging system has existed for a long time. Mm-hmm. It needs to be revamped. It needs to be automatic and less manual. When you have something that's so manual and it's people, there are going to be mistakes. And that has happened to us. It happened this year. It happened last year. It's happened to me as a kid in the carnival too. So those are things that, like, for me, I know that for 2024 need to change and will change.
Well, I don't know. But like, I just really want to talk about like the money thing because we always hear, oh, like it's expensive or like we need money or can
think about how and pardon me for saying this, hard it is to live now. Like when you
Yeah,
think about
the cost of living.
cost of living is nuts.
Yeah, it's
They
insane.
talk about the housing crisis. Like there are problems all over the place in our economy.
Mm-hmm.
Those exist in the carnival too, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same landscape that we're existing in. So, you know, funding from grants has been cut back over the years considerably.
Okay.
And that just goes and goes on and on and on. And also sponsorship. That's something that we've had to be really strategic and put a lot of effort towards. Because what I found is corporate Canada doesn't understand what this is or why being behind it or a part of it is important. It's looked at a lot like a big party and part of the...
But isn't the Pride Parade also a big party, but they got like sponsorship too? So what is the big... What's the difference? Well, I'm not going to, not in terms of like actual difference, but in terms of from a corporate lens, like what's the difference between me sponsoring?
You know, from a corporate lens, when you look at Pride, it's easy to see what it's a global issue there, right?
Okay.
Somebody said to me recently, they're like, you know, racism is a global issue too, but it's not making anybody open their pockets, and it never has. You know, and that's kind of a little bit of a hard reality to exist in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people talk about, we had the Black Lives Matter movement and all of these things that kind of put a lens on DE&I, but that's still in a...
like a surface level way.
Yeah, it's not the same. I've had to really look at what are the initiatives around and supporting the carnival that corporate Canada is going to understand. So things like, for example, our tagline for the carnival is diversity and culture live here. The carnival has long time been something that represents culture and diversity and inclusivity, but you know, pointing that out to corporate Canada. The same thing, like the fact that it's a celebration of emancipation from slavery. You'd be surprised how many people are like, really?
Yeah, but the thing that I always say, and I'm just looking for a comment because somebody made a comment about corporate Canada and kind of like positioning the carnival in a way that makes sense from their perspective. But the thing that I believe is like media is so important. Like if we are strategic about our media and the way that we're positioning the carnival and the image, and it makes a difference. You know what I mean? Like if they see that you see yourselves in a certain light, they're going to approach you in a certain way. You know what I mean?
And that's a collective effort too, because, you know, when sponsors look at what the carnival represents, they're not really looking only at the FMC. They're looking on a broader scale of what does this culture do, or what are they celebrating?
Okay, I'm just going to read this comment. It's so long. But anyways, he said... different generation, different. So this is in regards to Candace's episode where she was talking about stormers and like we need to do something where they can feel like they can do their thing, so they stop mashing up everybody else's. So this guy said different generation, different era, different level of respect and decorum. What was then is not what is now. At this point, if storming the bands, and to be clear, we're not talking about long time business about waiting for the band to pass and then taking a jump up behind the band, but actual invasion of the bands, impeding of the presentation and portrayal of the carnival art form, is now just a part of Carnival Saturday in Toronto, then we can't continue to complain about the lack of funding here and there and everywhere. Because if I'm the city, if I'm the province, if I'm the feds, and you're sitting in a boardroom telling me about art and telling me about culture and telling me about history and slavery and representation and national pride and so on and so forth, but all you keep producing is chaos, all we keep seeing is madness, why would I be giving you more? Trust me, from the outside looking in, all they see on that day is a community that doesn't even respect its own cultural gift and is willing to tear down fences and block the route and cause delays and have to be begged to clear the stage for the mass to pass. If, I don't know what he said there. He's like, if the invasion of the presentations is part and parcel of the thing, then we have to take what we get and live with it.
I don't like that last part.
I know he could. I just want, but like, I feel like that relates back to like the funding and all that stuff, but people don't look at it on that way.
You know, it's also important that we show people that it's not just Saturday.
Yeah.
There's so much more to what this thing is. And it's also more than just the carnival arts. It's about this community of people too.
Okay.
You know, if a sponsor, for example, or the city, this is also about an oppressed people.
Yeah.
And this is their way of celebrating our emancipation. But what am I doing as a government to support those people?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing to make sure that they can further their liberation? What am I doing to help these people thrive? Carnival is a huge ecosystem of businesses of Black and Caribbean people who are, this is how they live. You know, come down to the parade before 1 p.m. and it's a different parade. It still feels very like fast, but it's different. You know, I have pictures of the lakeshore with the most beautiful costumes. I have pictures of people on the stage with their presentation looking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing you walking up towards me and being like, wow, you know, like people are adorned. It's beautiful, you know, and I'm not going to think that the fact that there's another side of the parade, that diminishes all of that other stuff. Again, we have 2 junior events. We have our big mass, which to me is like one of the pinnacles of the carnival.
For sure.
But again, it's a community of people who live in this city and in this province. And this is part of their way of life. And that needs to be protected and preserved, because Canada is supposed to be this diverse mosaic of all these people where you can come here and you can still own who you are and where you come from. And we all celebrate that and share in it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of what we're saying is this doesn't need to be preserved and protected because it's Sweeting. It's also this Toronto thing. Mm-hmm. It's also a Canadian thing now here too. It's the only carnival where people really can talk about back home. All the other carnivals exist at home.
What about all the other carnivals that are coming up now? Like you guys have some
they
quote
suck.
unquote competition.
No, yes. I think about them all the time. You know, when I think about London, I've never been. Well, for starters, the carnival I know the best is Toronto's carnival. Mm-hmm. When you go to any other carnival, they're all so different.
Yeah.
They all have their own expression of freedom. Mm-hmm. You know, I wonder if that's why people break down the fences here. Like, is that their version of resistance? Like,
yeah.
I'm just
no, it actually is.
Like,
because
that, like,
no, that is
here?
no, that is, well, that's something that I always say. I don't remember who I said it to, but I was like, even when you listen to the music, like it's always like mash down some kind of fence.
One of my favorite songs. I think it's by a Grenadian artist too. I can't
probably
remember.
Is.
And the man's like mash down the fence. Specifically, he says
it has to be Grenadian or Vincy.
And I love that song. I'm like, yep.
And then on parade day, you're like, no, please. Stop. How much does it cost for fencing?
Oh my God, thousands and thousands of dollars. And I've received, a bill for damaged fence this year. But I'm just saying, like, this festival is ours to take care of. Not only as Caribbean people, but as Torontonians.
Wow.
You know?
Okay, what do you have to say to people who say get rid of the fences? You guys had double fences this year.
Maybe we could try it. That's what I have to say.
Somebody said get rid of the fences and instead have extraction teams in the bands.
Sorry, I just
you're in the hot seat.
I'm just laughing because like there are 1,000,001 ideas.
I know, but the execution of it and like the actual logistics of how it would work.
Being inside of it now too, the fact that I've been in the parade 33 times as a masquerader has helped me obviously in this job because I've seen things or have my opinions about whatever. I'm always open to learning, so I listen a lot. And I will say so many things have been tried to evolve this parade route. So many suggestions that people come up with, they seem so great. And then there are 1,000,000 problems that come with if you do that. The fencing thing, maybe we won't have fencing.
Well, you guys would save a lot of money if it's if you guys already are kind of tight on money. You can
maybe we'll save some money. I think about, for example, we have to do a lot of risk assessment.
Okay.
no fencing. Okay. So people can come in. People are coming in anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't create a deterrent for them,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost as if we allowed it. And if something happens to somebody, this is a story that was told to me recently, then who's liable for it?
You would also be liable if a fence falls on somebody for somebody breaking.
You know,
down the
when
fence.
I've seen some of the things happening,
a girl
to the
said
fence,
a fence almost fell on her.
When I
like,
saw what looked like a fence turned over and like people underneath it, like on their back, sort of, I saw it in a video. But I just wonder why people are risking their personal safety to do that. But I guess we're asking too much. I don't know.
Yo, I feel like no one actually knows what the real solution is. And everybody just feels like you guys need to figure out what to do.
Which is nuts. It is actually nuts to think that any one person or group can solve that. It's not I'm not going to say it's not solvable, but
it's going to have to be like a research and development type thing. Like, okay, you guys want to try no fences? Okay, let's see how that went. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's try this. Like, it's actually going to have to be something where we just keep trying new stuff.
Yeah, like exactly. And I love the idea of doing that. Everything is a little bit trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
It's so massive, the carnival. You can't make, without a lot of risk, huge changes, a whole bunch of them, and then say, oh, let's just try this. You know,
you have to do one at a time.
You have to do tweaks that you can manage, let's say. But we have a couple of ideas this year that, you know, I'm not going to say they're going to solve everything, but for sure, if you're a masquerader and we start the parade earlier, we probably will avoid some storming people who come in the afternoon, you know?
Like early, like how early?
I mean, like 5 a.m.
Yeah, because nobody's going.
Not that early.
You're playing mass with the sun rising.
You know, I would love for us to start the parade at 9 and be on time with 9. Sometimes there's delays on our end, delays on other people's ends. I think we all need to collectively, the bands and the FMC, say, what time can we realistically start this parade and get masqueraders across the stage?
Well, you know how Caribbean people are with time anyway. So if you
Terrible.
you guys need to say, yo, we're starting the parade at
just
8.
Be extra
so
unruly.
So everybody reaches at like
imagine there was a time where you would buy your costume, go down to Exhibition Place, stand in the assembly area all day and never leave. And then someone comes over and tells your band, we're sorry. It's too late. You can't go out and cross the stage and go down the road.
That's happened before?
Yes. That's been something that is for sure happened in the carnival multiple times, you know? And that's one of the reasons, you know, people want to know all the time, like, oh, what people want an opportunity to be a new band in the carnival. You know, for one, I always say, I don't know why anybody would want to be a band leader. It is not an easy thing to be, you know. It's probably one of the tougher jobs in the carnival to produce a band and to manage all the pieces of that. It's not easy.
And I'm sure there's politics to navigate.
There's only politics to navigate. No.
No, for real.
I don't know. People always say carnival is bacchanal. And that when the season comes around, the jumbie comes out in people. I wish it wasn't that way.
It is, though.
But I've seen the evidence.
Worldwide.
Like, I've seen the evidence. And yeah, it just kind of is what it is. But it makes you a stronger person. That's for sure.
So, okay. So when we're thinking about, and I ask everybody this, when we're thinking about the future of Toronto Carnival, you said you're an idealist. So in your idealistic world, where you say like everybody comes together and, you know, all these different things, like what does the carnival look like in your idealistic world, and then in taking some of that idealism and putting it with like what's really going on right now?
I mean, in my ideal carnival world, everyone's happy.
All the time. I agree.
You know, this thing is like the most joyful thing that exists for me.
And leading up to it,
being involved in it now has made me go, oh, wow. You know, a little bit of the joy has been sucked back, but
yeah,
my life, the purpose in my life has become so much stronger.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a person who I care a lot about my family. I've always cared a crazy amount about being a part of the carnival and the culture. But I never in a million years thought that my professional life and that life were going to come together. But somehow they did. Here I am.
So what would the future of Toronto Carnival, just in general, like what would the future of Toronto Carnival look like?
Yeah, if everybody could be happy, everybody felt they were treated fairly. Everybody felt that the ecosystem of the carnival allowed them to thrive. Right now, there's a little bit of disparity amongst, the bands, or even, we have steel bands practicing under a bridge and don't have a place to store their instruments.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's so many areas that need attention and care. I want for the carnival to not be struggling anymore.
It sounds like it's holding on by a thread right now.
I wouldn't say holding on by a thread, but it feels like that sometimes.
When you just told me that they practice under a bridge and they don't have a place to, I didn't know that.
And these are the art forms that are keeping this thing that bring it to life.
It's like the heartbeat.
Yeah, like we set up the infrastructure and try to make sure everything's in place, but the actual display of art is the community and these people. And when I hear about people's struggles to, be able to pay rent, I feel scared for just how long is everyone going to be able to do this for? Yeah. And I think that's become part of my message. I'm like, how much longer is this community going to hold this thing up on their backs? And I'm included in that too now. We all work all the time, like literally all the time, to try to put this thing in a better footing. And I don't think that's new. I think the people before me were doing that too, but it's not easy, and it's going to take years, which we've already been putting in, of us pounding away, of us being transparent, telling people the truth, and also that respect thing too that we've been talking about. I think the fact that I grew up in this and now I'm getting the opportunity to lead this, I have a special feeling about the carnival that I know what it can be here. Like I know I can see it.
So the thing that the thing is just the funding. Like literally that's like the thing.
Yeah. And to be honest, who knows, by next year carnival, I probably am going to say a way different story to you. Like there's been a lot of strategic thinking that has gone into addressing the funding on a government level. Like it's not just as simple as applying for grants. There's a whole political side to this where you have to lobby the government. You got to speak to the right people. You have to explain your pitch at the end of the day. You have to be convincing. But it's representing a huge group of people, but also this festival that it's like I keep saying livelihood, but that's not the right word. It's more of like, it's a lifeline. Yeah. I had this volunteer come up to me and say, somebody called me and said that they didn't need me. And then I don't know what mistake happened, but she came and she got her t-shirt and she came up to me and she was like holding on to me. And she's like, when I got this phone call, the first thing that went through my mind was, oh, this is depression. And I'm just like, right. Like people, this is their connection.
What do you mean? What does she mean by that?
She meant if she couldn't be a part of the festival, that she felt depressed thinking about what that was going to be like. And even for me too, I'm just like, imagine if this thing didn't exist. And I don't think that's something that's in any foreseeable future. But it's how long are we going to carry on like this? How long will the CEO experience be what I'm experiencing right now? I want to make sure that I do my part so that when the next person comes to take on this job, whether it's in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that they're taking what we have here. Yeah. And like doing more with it, not saying, oh my God,
here's a mess, you fix it.
Yeah. Like, how do I do this and where do I start? I really want somebody to be able to build upon whatever's there already. I feel so at peace right now in September of 2023 because I started in the carnival November 15th, 2021, okay, as a general manager. And after 1 week, I was like, what did I get myself into, you know? And then the deeper you get into it is the more also you just can see more and more where you can make a difference. But I don't have 10 hands and we don't have any money.
Yeah.
And it's so sad.
I feel I understand what you're saying now with the funding. It's like your hands are tied.
Like when I look at what they've been doing for years, it's like, this is what we have to produce. Then we go out and we try to get whatever money we can get for it, right? And before there was way more money around. Now there's less. So it's like we still have these 5 events. But the money keeps going down. And we're still trying to figure out with less money how to do the same amount of events
with less,
make it better.
Less money, less volunteers, less everything.
Oh, also the price of everything has gone up like 40%. So, you know, this year we saw other organizations cancel things and we were determined that we weren't going to do it. And part of it was like, no, we're going to tell people the truth. And we're also going to put on notice, you know, the people who can make a difference and actually help this carnival this year. And I have to say that, you know, the government did make a valiant effort to support us through this season. And it's up to us now, though, to take the place that we are, to take this little head start, because I want to tell people September to August is not a good enough head start for the carnival. You know, our planning needs to be 2 years out. Realistically.
Okay, because I was going to ask you how long it takes to lobby and stuff like that. Like how much lead time do you need to actually...
I mean, all the work that I'm doing right now in terms of lobbying the government, I would be so happy if that turned out for a result in 2024. But I don't think that's realistic. It doesn't work that way. You know, the government is slow moving. There's an election next year.
Oh, no.
You know, that's all part of it too.
That's going to be their priority.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How did you get yourself to say, not only am I going to record this video, but I'm going to post it and see what happens for Face of the Festival?
I just had a feeling that I should do it. I just had a feeling that you guys would choose me.
I love that.
I just had a feeling that you guys would choose me. And I was like, but who am I to even apply for this? Like, I have no history in this place. And I was like, no, like, I know some things, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't ever hear anyone talking like this ever. So I'm like, let me just show them what I have to say. And I was fucking terrified. I was terrified. I was like, whatever, I'm still going to do it. And I had like, I could just hear in my head after first of all, I was freaking crying after people were being so nice to me. Oh my God, like, yes, you should do this. Oh my God, I hope you win, whatever. But I just support. Had this, I know the support alone made me felt like I'd won. But and I always tell my family this, like I literally heard in my head the song from The Little Mermaid, A Whole New World. Like I was hearing that in my head after I applied. I was like, yo, I'm probably gonna, but like I had my whole plan. Like I was like, I'm gonna do the Face of the Festival thing, and then after I do that, I'm gonna do this so that I can do that and do that and do that. Like it wasn't just, okay, I'm gonna be the Face of the Festival, and then once that, yeah. Like no,
you
like
had a whole plan, a vision.
This is the launch pad,
right?
And it has been.
Yeah, you're giving me chills. I love it. Listen, when we saw your video, and I mean, you got to know us a little bit now too. I was screaming in the thing. I was like, done. I'm done.
I showed my dad the video. He was like, yo, they would have been stupid if they didn't choose you.
You know, it was like we knew it was you right away. So that's also really cool too, because you're my first Face of the Festival.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm so proud of you, man.
That is so nice.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you as a person, like just straight up who you are as a human. Mm-hmm. I'm proud to know that you're just like out existing in the world, like, you know, impacting people with your energy. I
appreciate your support. Yeah. I always have. The first day I met you, I was like, I love her.
No, I was like, I love her. No, for sure. Then when Adrian heard you were when we saw you were Grenadian, he was like, I'm just like, oh, great. Now everyone's going to say this is why we chose her, because she's Grenadian. No.
You know what needs to happen though? And I don't and I don't say this to offend anyone, we need to less Trinidadianize Toronto Caribbean Carnival, because when they played the Trinidad anthem at the official launch, I was like, you guys need to
Nobody
stop.
told them to do that.
I was like, you guys need to stop right now, because this is not the Trinidad. And I know some people feel like, oh well, our carnival is based off Trinidad Carnival. That's fine. That's fine if Trinidad Carnival is the blueprint for this carnival. That's fine. We are not in Trinidad. We do not need to be running the Trinidad anthem here. Run O Canada.
No, for sure. Our biggest thing is this is a Caribbean carnival. Like, it literally is people from all over the Caribbean. And I want to make sure that we highlight that.
Because I came up to you guys after. I was like, why are they playing this anthem?
Actually, I literally can remember that couldn't stop laughing. We're like, well, obviously the rain came. We're like, obviously.
And it's no disrespect to Trini people.
No.
Like, but it's just like, yo, you guys, like, come on, man. It's not just your
sometimes
thing.
It's like, how come it's your thing?
It's not just your thing. Look at this lady's Guyanese. He's Grenadian. She's Vincentian. This one's from Dominica. Like,
yeah, seriously, it's everywhere. I have a little St. Vincent flag on my desk, so anytime I'm on a Zoom and it starts turning to Trini and we blow on thing, I just take my flag and like slowly bring it into the screen, and it satisfies me so much.
Good, because
it literally makes me so happy. I'm just like,
you have to rep your place. So when it comes to the funding, like for the Toronto Caribbean Carnival, the future, making sure that like it can thrive and stuff like that. Some of the funding sources that you guys have right now, you said they're grants, the government.
Sponsorship is where we can make the biggest changes for ourselves, and we already have. Like, we've doubled the sponsorship money this year than in the last 3 years what we've had.
Nice.
And part of that is about being strategic in the way that we're marketing and positioning the carnival when we have those conversations. But you know, most festivals are funded by sponsorship.
Yeah.
And another thing too that the carnival has to do is sell merchandise. You know, a lot of people say that they're interested. There have been times when the carnival sold merch and it didn't go well. So,
but now we have things like Shopify and stuff where people can buy online, and
I think that things have changed so much. Plus, I mean, a part of it is market research. You can't just decide
a product
that we're going to sell Toronto Carnival keychains and expect them to fly off the shelf. You know, it has to be a deliberate and make sense. But looking at different ways to produce revenue, looking at different events that we can introduce that actually make revenue for us. Because as it stands right now, the majority of our events are free. So that doesn't make.
So what would you guys have, like a Toronto Carnival Fit? Or is that not on brand?
No, absolutely it is. Oh. It absolutely is. You know, it's cool too, because everybody more or less, like, we're all kind of thinking the same things and ideas, you know. Nobody's, you know, thinking up something that's never been thought of before. It's just a lot of tweaking. But, you know, one of the things we really want to do is launch off the band launch season, you know, make that an opportunity for the carnival to fit in earlier, but also fit in a way that we can have a party, we can make some money, but we can also draw more attention to our stakeholders and what they're doing for the season too. But yeah, we're thinking of lots of different ideas. And
one of the things that Candace was saying was like having the band launches and like media attention earlier. Is that something that you guys would consider?
Absolutely. So right now, our media launch existed for the purpose of kind of launching the main festival month. But as we're changing what the carnival looks like and represents, we really want it to be an all year round thing. So that changes kind of the timing of when that can be.
Do you think it could happen for next year?
I want to say yes. Sorry, I'm just really thinking about it, Kiana. Like, explain to me what you think a media event at the beginning of the band launch season would look like.
Well, I don't know. It wasn't my idea. But basically, Candace was saying, like, and I understand where she's coming from as a band leader, is just like the media launch and the official launch.
I love Candace, by the way.
Yeah, me too. The media launch, that's why she was on the podcast. The media launch and the official launch don't actually help to sell costumes. It's really just for like stakeholders or whoever else. But okay, we can still satisfy those stakeholder needs or whatever, but also satisfy the need to sell costumes and make sure that the carnival.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our official launch is something that we looked at last year, and we're looking at this year again as saying, why does it happen there?
And it's so close to when the carnival stuff started happening. Like, can you imagine being a band leader, a section leader, and you have to like it's like a month before, and then you have to go to.
It's tough. And like,
Yeah.
I've been one of those models, you know, in the official launch. Like, it's a lot that goes into showing up there. And you're right. It's like, what's the return on that for me? Am I really going to get people interested in buying costumes, or even at this point in the season?
Well, no, because my production's done.
Right.
Like,
So,
I already have my section closed off. Like, that's one of the things that they were saying. A lot of the stuff is happening too late for them to sell.
the official launch, I'd say for sure is going to move. I can't say when because I actually don't know.
2 weeks before.
You know, the official launch for sure is going to move, because what we want to make sure that we're doing is that our events are working for us and not for whatever other reason they were there for, you know? And some people know what but there's a whole bunch of, there's a lot of politics into why things have been the way they've been in the past. But we're moving into a different space now.
A new generation.
You know, it's a new world, as Ariel would say. That's my favorite Disney movie, by the way. Like, I love Ariel. And the fact that they had a Black Ariel in the live action, I was like, this is God just letting me know the world is just getting
to my idealistic world.
Yeah, I'm like, everything's
almost there.
getting better.
Yeah.
No,
But,
for sure we want the events to work for the carnival and work for our stakeholders too. And we are looking at and assessing, especially the official launch, to say, what is this actually doing for anybody?
To be honest, it's not.
Right.
It's not doing anything. It's not.
Good to know.
No, I'm sorry. Like, I know it's kind of obvious, but it's like, even when you look at the timing of it, like, it's too close to the.
Yeah, even
it should at least be 90 days ahead.
It's like, we don't get to pick exactly when we can get Nathan Phillips Square.
Can you do it somewhere else?
Absolutely.
No, why does it have to be at Nathan Phillips Square?
It doesn't have to be.
The thing, sometimes what happens is because we're so like, there's been a tradition, we think
yeah,
that we
people
have to follow
expectations too, that certain things are going to happen in a certain way.
It's so funny. In my head, I said, F people's expectations. But I'm sure in your role, you can't really be acting like that.
No, you can't do that. But you can think it. No.
I think sometimes when it comes to trying new things and doing new things and trial and error research and development, sometimes it does have to be like, hey, I know we've always done it this way, but
yeah, we
have to try something new. We have to evolve.
And like, I've had to let go of like perfectionism, because it will keep us exactly where we are. If I am too afraid to say, let's do this, let's try that, let's whatever, because it may not work out, then we'll never change things or get any better. So like, for me lately, I'm like, be okay with however this works out. But even when we're talking about making these changes, it's like, okay, who's going to not like that? And who's going to like it? Who's going to support it? And who won't? But deal with that too, you know?
There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like it. Even in like politics, it doesn't matter what these guys do. There's always somebody who's mad about something. Like, who cares, bro? I'm sorry, but you cannot take everything that everybody says personally. Like, they're just having their own stuff. They're mad about whatever.
Is a playground for learning not to take anything personal. It really is. I thought I must have wished for a level of personal freedom to not be affected by other people's opinions and things so much
that you ended up in this role.
I will give you something that you will be dealing with that all the time, and you will have to break out of that. And like sometimes it can be paralyzing,
because it's like, no matter what I do, I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah, you know, or the amount of, no matter what you do, there will be the unhappy people you will have to deal with. You don't know who they'll be before you do it, but you're going to find out, you know, all of those things. But I'm also learning that my job is to do what I think is best for the organization, the stakeholders, and the community as a whole. And also thinking about what's the greatest and highest good for like the most, the as many of us as possible. And everybody may not see that when those things happen, but
You just have to stay prayed up.
oh my goodness.
You just have to stay prayed up.
Prayer and meditation have become like, and learning that they're the same thing
Mm-hmm.
too. And also learning to find joy and gratitude when you're like
In chaos.
there's nothing right now, you know, like learning to, you know, be in meditation and be like, I get to do this. I get to be in this position to try my best. And that has helped me to keep showing up. And then I realized too, like sometimes that's the value, is that you keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not easy all the time. But in doing that too, there's all this chipping away that happens, and so much has changed. So much has gotten better. And I know that it will continue to do that. But it's going to feel, I think, like...
And sometimes too, when there's change, like it's hard for everybody to accept or embrace. You're new, you're young, you're probably younger than a lot of people who have been in this space for a long time and feel like, who's this young girl? What she feel she doing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like,
I've heard it.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
but like, I believe in you.
Thank you. I mean, listen, best thing I ever did, Kiana Bell, face of the festival.
Woo!
I know how to pick them. That's what I say now. No.
Well, I look forward to seeing who you guys select next year. Maybe I can help choose.
I would only hope that you would be a part of it.
I would love to be a part of it.
Thank you.
So for people who want to maybe help volunteer, maybe people want to donate, anything, you know what I mean? Where can they find you?
Go to torontocarnival.ca.
Mm-hmm.
You will see information on how to be involved in different ways. There's volunteer. Right now, we are also looking for community members. It's a volunteer position on different committees. So for example, we have a VIP committee, we have a marketing committee. So both of those committees comprise of people who actually work for the festival, but they also will include community members who have special skill or experience in that area.
Nice.
They can apply and be a part of that. So that's something we did last year. And I think we are continuing it again this year. But also, you know, emailing to the info email is a good way to get a hold of us too. Those emails do get to me if they're directed to me.
Sure.
info@torontocarnival.ca. Okay. That's a great way as well. But I mean, I'm around a lot. I wish for people to come up to me and say hi, say something nice.
Only, listen,
You know?
nobody can tell me no about Mischka, eh? I say this all the time.
Thanks,
Nobody can
Kiana.
tell me no
I
about
got
her.
a few protectors in the carnival, for real. I have a few serious protectors that I'm so grateful for, and you're one of them. But yeah, I love when people come up to me and tell me about how much they love the carnival, and they express, you know, whatever they say, see what you're doing, and you know, I see you making a difference, and they want to help. There's room for everybody to help. I would say it is not easy to work in the carnival, even if you're a volunteer. It's a lot of hard work, like anything. But the passion and the love that people have for it is what makes it fun to work there, and makes it, I don't know, I just thrive best in a family environment. And that's what the carnival truly is, for good and bad.
Even the fight up.
I don't know why we fight so much, but
But like you said, it's the carnival jumbie.
you know, I've even learned that too. Like I'm used to working in environments where if somebody, and I just mean this generally in the community, if people were to say, you know, something nasty to you, I mean, I guess we're not friends anymore, but I'll see these people another time and they're fine. And some people are just, whatever, it's the way.
It was so nice talking to you
Thanks
today.
for having me.
If there is anything else that you want to say, because honestly, I just come on here and I just talk.
Oh my God, what else could I ever want to say?
I just want to reiterate that I believe in you, and I'm really excited to
Thank
see
you.
what you do.
I'm
cheering you on no matter what happens.
Goodness. I have already, you know, sacrificed so much to just try to do my best to make sure that, and to also recognize what has been asked of me. And what is the, you know, how much this community loves this festival and how much it's a part of who we all are. It's so much a part of who I am. I just want it to be for everybody what it's supposed to be.
I think it's that passion that makes people get a little bit touchy.
Oh, absolutely. And they need to chill.
I can understand though. But I think we also have to remember that everybody has feelings. Everybody's a person.
Everybody. Oh my God. That's the hardest thing. You know, everybody has a right to feel the way they want to feel. And working in the carnival, you become a point of for people to express that to.
I got some of that. I was like, I'm new here. I don't even know where this is coming from.
No, but one thing I try to say to myself is I'm like, this is information.
Yeah.
I'm like, anything people tell me, I'm like, I'm going to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, I'm like, I'll fix that. I'll fix that.
Okay.
So I'll fix that.
Mischka, Toronto Carnival.
That's my slogan.
Yeah, literally. I'll fix that. Well, it was nice talking to you, Mischka.
Thank you, Kiana.